Hello everyone, welcome to the last case study with me. This week we're specifically focusing in on wildfires, which is really near and dear to my heart. This is my background. I have a fire science background and I have a firefighting background as well. So I'm going to try and keep this as simple and short as I can, just to meet the time frame that we have allotted to us with this video. So bear with me. So the one that I chose was the Fort McMurray wildfire that occurred on May 3rd, 2016. It was known as the Wood Buffalo Wildfire or Horse River Wildfire, and it occurred in Alberta, Canada. Approximately 2,400 buildings were destroyed in the fire, and the fire resulted in over $3.5 billion of insurance losses and $6 billion worth of commercial and residential damage. This ranked the natural disaster to be the costliest to ever occur in Canada's history to date, granting its nickname, the Beast, as the local fire personnel called it at the time. So Fort McMurray is located in the northeastern portion of the province of Alberta. Its population is roughly around 125,000 altogether, and the city is close in proximity to vast oil sand deposits. This is their industry. This is where they gained all their money. This is pretty much, what the city was based around, and that'll all come into play here very soon as why it's important. This is a timeline of the actual fire growth of the fire. I don't have time to actually go through it in depth, but just to give you some sort of idea of how fire will grow and how fast. I put this in here just so that you have an idea of what kind of occurred. Just to point out that this fire started and was first detected on May 1st, and it was only approximately 5 acres big. So at the time, fire personnel tried to contain it, and they had a good handle on it. And then, unfortunately, by May 2nd, the next day, the conditions just were too prime for the fire to spread uncontrollably to where they just couldn't contain it very well, leading it to where the fire continued to grow and continued to spread out west to Fort McMurray, to where finally they had to evacuate Fort McMurray and actually evacuate the whole entire city of 88,000 people. So take a look at this if you like. It gives you a good time frame and kind of what to look for and stuff like that. I mean, for example, by May 5th, it was already 210,000 acres in expansion and a fire degrade and stuff like that, which is insane. And then by the end of it, finally they declared the fire to be under control on July 4th, and its final size was estimated to be approximately 1,500,000 acres that the fire was being spreaded and contained in, which is insane to keep up with as a firefighter in these conditions. So take a look at that. I also found a good YouTube video to actually show this in video format as well, if you'd like to take a look at that as well. So what's the importance of this particular fire? The biggest importance of this particular one is both its scale and the impact that it had. So the scale that it was, I mean, as you just heard from me, I mean, it was 1,500,000 acres, and that's an enormous amount of area to contain a fire in. And firefighters from all around had to come in and help in this effort to actually contain it and actually get it under control. But the biggest importance to this thing, and I guess the most significant thing to this, is actually the evacuation that occurred from Fort McMurray, because there was a very short period time frame that they had to evacuate this city, and in that time frame, 88,000 people were able to get out safely, and no one was killed directly as a result of the wildfire itself. There were 2 people that died of a car crash due to some traffic incidents that occurred, but nothing from the wildfire itself directly killed anybody, which is incredible. These similar incidents that I have to go along with this, to give you some sort of idea to go along with it. One was in October 2007, 5 major wildfires raged across San Diego, prompting one of the largest mass evacuations in state history. The biggest similarity between this one and Fort McMurray was the evacuation itself. Unfortunately, with the San Diego one, 10 people did die, but they also had more people evacuating the city at the time. It was 300,000 people that were trying to evacuate at the time, and there was just too much to occur, and unfortunately 10 people were lost in that incident. The other one that I found is the Okanagan Mountain Park, BC wildfire in 2003, where a bolt of lightning started the fire, and the damage was extensive in that area, and an estimated 33,000 people had to evacuate the area. And this one is very similar to the Fort McMurray case because these people were all able to evacuate the area in a safe manner and actually remain safe throughout the whole entire thing. And then the other one that I found was actually the 2017 British Columbia wildfires, where lightning again caused fires to occur along with human causes as well, leading there to be another evacuation of 33,000 people to occur. But the biggest similarity between this one and Fort McMurray was actually the cost. So the cost of this thing was $563 million worth of damage that occurred in insurance and commercial and residential losses. And relating to just the devastation that wildfires can really take on infrastructure, and even the acreage of land as well. I mean, that's in comparison to the Fort McMurray wildfire as well. So the major issues that were faced with this particular wildfire were the high temperatures that were occurring throughout that time with low humidity and wind conditions made the fire easily able to spread and hard to contain by fire personnel. And why this is an important thing real quick is just this just gives a prime ability for fire to occur with these conditions. So keep that in mind. The second major issue was that they had to evacuate 88,000 people out of a city in a very, very short period of time because this fire was spreading very quickly and uncontrollably. So what was done well? Well, the fact that they were able to evacuate 88,000 people successfully and result in no one dying and actually everyone being safe. That's incredible. That is something that's very done well in this particular incident. 2, people in the area were prepared. Because of where they lived near the oil sand deposits, their culture was very safety oriented. So everyone involved worked together during this incident to make sure that everyone got out safe. And that is critical when it comes to these types of things. And the third thing that was done well was the actual suppression efforts of the firefighters and the firefighters that came in out of town as well to help out, because they were actually able to contain this big of amount of fire in order so people could actually get out, which is just incredible to me, because I know what that takes, and it's a lot. So the lessons learned. The biggest lesson learned is that these wildfires, no matter what, this one and all the other ones that you'll hear about throughout this week, they grow exponentially and they grow very quickly. And depending on weather conditions as well, they're very unpredictable, to the point to where you just don't know where it's going to spread sometimes. So it creates a lot of hardships to actually be able to figure out how to control it, how to fight against it. So knowing how these fires work and how they grow and what occurs and the conditions that is met to make them grow as much as they do is something to take into account and to learn from, so we can know how to fight them in the future better. And then also the biggest thing actually that stood out to me was the promotion of a safe-centered mentality of businesses and individuals that Fort McMurray had to be able to create an atmosphere to where they could actually evacuate safely, which is something that we all try to achieve in this type of industry, and it's very hard to achieve, and they were able to do it, which is awesome. So these were my references. The peer review journal articles that I found speak specifically towards Fort McMurray, the specific wildfire that occurred, and then also the newspaper articles that I found as well. That's it, guys. I'm sorry for going over just a couple of seconds. I tried to keep it as short as I could, but I look forward to seeing y'all's case studies this week, and it's been a great semester.